Hi, my name is Doug Schneider. Welcome to the 10th episode of Real Hi-Fi, where I'm just going to scratch the surface on a topic I think is really important. That's measurements and why they matter. And in doing so, I'm going to use this speaker, which I just reviewed on SoundStage Hi-Fi, as an example. So audio measurements, like many things in hi-fi, can come with a lot of controversy. And these days on the internet, you can find a number of reviewers who will tell you that measurements are meaningless. They don't matter to you as the reader or the viewer. And this is far from the truth, and in fact is something I addressed on SoundStage Hi-Fi in April, where I gave 4 reasons behind why I believe these reviewers are saying these things. Of those 4 reasons, I think the main one is ignorance. They simply don't understand the measurements and seem unwilling to learn them. And this is really unfortunate because they're taking their lack of knowledge on the subject and putting that onto you, the reader, the viewer, in turn giving you far less information than they should. And they're actually doing a great disservice, actually an insult to all those people who have done phenomenal work over the decades correlating measurements with what we hear. Now, I'm not going to be the one who tells you that measurements can tell you the whole story, because they can't. And that's what these reviewers always fall back on. They say, well, if measurements can't tell you everything, then throw them all away. They're garbage. That's basically throwing out the baby with the bathwater. They can do better than that if they think a little harder, because the measurements can correlate with what we hear and also validate what we hear. As far as correlating and validating go, let's now talk about the Paradigm Founder Series 100F. You can find the review on SoundStage Hi-Fi. Now, I was about a month behind with the review because we always do our listening before the measuring, and I had to get the listening done before I could take it to the anechoic chamber to measure the speaker. But when the measurements came out, I was shocked how well they correlated with what I heard. What's more, our measurements lined up quite nicely with Paradigm's own claims, what they put in their spec sheet. And this is an important part of doing measurements that the anti-measurement crowd doesn't seem to get. If someone's not validating manufacturers' own claims, who's to keep them from lying? With Paradigm's measurement claims matching ours, that speaks well for the information that Paradigm's putting out there. But that's not always the case. You don't know how many times in the last 20-some years of measuring products where manufacturers' claims didn't hold up when we measured their products. And for that reason alone, it's worthwhile measuring products. As one manufacturer once said to me, you doing measurements keeps us honest. Now, insofar as correlating what was heard with what was measured, I could go on and on and on with many examples, but let me just point out a few. The deep ample bass that I highlighted in the review, that's there in the frequency response charts, as is the general neutrality across the audio band. Just look at the on and off axis responses. The tremendous clarity the speaker has, look how low the distortion is in those charts. The ability to play loud without strain, that's in there in deviation from linearity, those charts. It's all there if you know what to look for. That's the thing though, you have to be able to interpret the measurements to really understand what they mean, and not everybody can, nor does everybody want to, and that's fine. But I guess I want to get across 2 messages. One is to consumers reading or viewing product reviews. Know that measurements matter, and they help to tell a more complete story about the product under review. The other is to the reviewers actively disparaging measurements. I hope before you do that, you've already taken the time to learn a thing or two.